a story of loss, healing, and the long road back to light. Dear friend, I want to tell you a story, not a fairy tale. Those are for children. This is a story for folks like us, who have lived long enough to know that life does not always go the way we planned. It is about a young man named Nathan who lost his wife and then lost himself. It is about the darkness that waits when grief becomes too heavy to carry alone. But more than anything, it is about the good people strangers, most of them who refuse to let someone disappear. I reckon you have known people like Nathan. Maybe you have been Nathan. Lord knows, loss visits all of us sooner or later. So sit with me a while. Let me tell you what happened. And maybe, by the end, we will both remember something important, that even in the darkest basement, someone is looking for us. The smell hit Grace Delgado before she saw anything. It was the kind of smell that took her back to her grandmother's root cellar in eastern Oregon, damp earth. Mold, something gone bad beneath the floorboards. But this was worse, sweeter. The smell of flesh that had started to turn. Grace had worked Portland's streets for 6 years. She had visited camps, under bridges, and makeshift shelters in buildings that should have been condemned. She knew what neglect smelled like. This was different. Her flashlight cut through the darkness, concrete walls, sweating with moisture. An old water heater in the corner, rusted through, dead for years. Pipes overhead dripping into puddles that never dried. And there against the far wall a mattress, a shape on it. Grace moved closer. Her boots splashed through standing water. The cold seeped through her socks. She kept the beam steady. A man, young, maybe early 30s, though it was hard to tell anymore. His cheekbones pushed against skin that looked like parchment stretched too thin. His beard was matted with dirt and something darker dried blood. Maybe. Or worse. His clothes hung off his frame like they belonged to someone twice his size, but it was his arms that stopped her cold. Open wounds. Some blackened at the edges where infection had taken hold. Some weeping yellow fluid that glistened in the flashlight beam. Red streaks ran up toward his shoulders, the angry lines of poison spreading through his blood. Grace's hand went to her mouth. Her stomach turned. Then his eyes opened. That was the shock. He was conscious, pale blue eyes, sunken deep in their sockets, tracking her flashlight as it moved. His lips cracked when they parted. No sound came out. But she could see him trying. He was alive. Lord have mercy, he was still alive! Grace dropped to her knees beside the mattress. The cold water soaked through her jeans. She did not care. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She had made this call before dozens of times, maybe hundreds. But something about this man, this room, this smell of death that had not quite finished its work. She noticed his hand moving, fingers trembling, reaching toward a dirty canvas bag in the corner, reaching like it was the only thing that mattered. Easy now, she said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. I am going to get you help. You are not alone anymore. She bowed her head for just a moment, closed her eyes. Lord, please let me be in time. Please do not let this one slip away. Then she dialed. This is Grace Delgado with Portland Street Medicine. I need an ambulance at 4th and Burnside. Basement level. Come through the alley door. She paused, looked at him again, at the bones pressing through his skin, at the wounds that should have killed him days ago. I have a man down here, early 30s. Multiple infected wounds. He is conscious but cannot speak. He is breathing, but barely. She lowered the phone, reached for the bag he kept trying to touch. It was heavier than she expected. Canvas, dirty, the strap frayed, something solid inside. "I have got it," she told him. "Whatever this is, I have got it. I am not letting go." His hand dropped. His eyes closed, but his fingers relaxed. Just slightly. 3 weeks earlier, Grace had heard about him for the first time. She was at the Burnside shelter, handing out wool socks and hand warmers before the cold snap hit. An older fellow named Eddie 60-something, gray beard, Vietnam veteran who still wore his army jacket, had pulled her aside. "There is a fella," Eddie said, keeping his voice low. "Lives underground somewhere. Used to be somebody. I heard. Took pictures for magazines or galleries or something. Made regular folks look like movie stars." Grace wrote it down in her little notebook. She always wrote everything down. "Anyone know his name?" Eddie shook his head. "Folks just call him the camera guy. But nobody has seen him in weeks. Might have moved on." He paused. "Might be dead." Grace did not believe in might be dead. In her line of work, you assumed everyone was still breathing until you found them. So she started looking. 3 weeks. Every block between the river and the freeway. Every shelter. Every soup kitchen. Every camp she could find. She asked the same question everywhere. "Have you seen the photographer?" Most folks shook their heads. A few remembered him, quiet young man. Kept to himself. Always carried an old camera. One woman at the mission said he used to sit by the waterfront at sunrise, taking pictures of the bridges. "Had sad eyes," she told Grace. "Like he was looking for something he already lost." 2 days ago, a tip finally paid off. An old building near the rail yard. Basement access through an alley door that did not lock anymore. Grace went. And Grace found him. Now she sat beside him in the dark, holding his bag, waiting for the sirens. The smell was in her clothes, her hair, her lungs. She breathed through her mouth and did not look away. "I do not know who you are," she said quietly. "I do not know what happened to you, but I can see somebody loved you once. Somebody gave you that camera." She squeezed the bag against her chest. "And I am not going to let you die in this basement." The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights flickered through the tiny window near the ceiling. Help was coming. Grace looked at the man on the mattress, at the wounds on his arms, at the bones showing through his skin, at the fingers that had reached for a bag he could not lift. "What are you holding on to?" she wondered. "And who did you lose?" She would learn his name later. Nathan Cole, 32 years old, award-winning photographer, widower. But that night, in the basement, he was just another soul who had fallen through the cracks, another person the world had forgotten. Grace Delgado did not forget. She never did. To be continued. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Nathan Cole used to wake before sunrise, 4:30 every morning. The coffee maker would gurgle in the kitchen, that old Mr. Coffee machine Emily had bought at a yard sale for $3 while he dressed in the dark. Careful not to wake her, he would grab the Leica from the shelf by the door and slip outside to chase the light. Portland at dawn was his church. Fog rolling off the Willamette, the first streetcar rattling across the steel bridge, a night shift nurse waiting at a bus stop, steam rising from her paper cup. Folks said he had a gift. Not fancy words in magazines, just regular people who saw his photographs and said, "That is exactly how it feels." He took pictures of ordinary moments and made them look like something worth remembering. He cared most about Emily. She ran a used bookstore on Hawthorne Street. The place smelled like old paper and her jasmine shampoo and the coffee she kept warm on a hot plate by the register. A brass bell jingled when the door opened. The cat, a gray tabby named Hemingway, slept in the front window, and the afternoon sun came through dusty and golden, falling across stacks of paperbacks like a blessing. When Emily laughed, she laughed with her whole self, shoulders shaking, head thrown back, coffee spilling because she forgot she was holding a cup. "You are making a mess," he would say. "You love my mess." She would answer, "Lord, he did. He loved every bit of it." She bought him the Leica on their wedding day, had it engraved on the bottom, "To Nathan who shows me light I never knew existed, forever. Emily." Some evenings they would sit on the back porch, her head on his shoulder, listening to the radio. Sam Cooke, Otis Redding. The old songs she loved because her mother had loved them. "A Change Is Gonna Come" playing soft while the sun went down. November. 2 years ago. She kissed his forehead that morning, coffee cup in hand. "Back in an hour. Do not forget to eat lunch." She was 3 blocks from home when the drunk driver ran the red light. Nathan was editing photographs when the police knocked. The Leica sat on his desk, waiting for film she would never bring home. The paramedics came down the basement stairs with a stretcher and lights bright enough to make Grace squint. 2 men, 1 woman. They moved like folks who had done this 1,000 times before, quick, steady, no wasted motion. The woman dropped beside the mattress, her fingers pressing against Nathan's neck. "Pulse is weak and fast," she said. 120, maybe higher." One of the men cut away Nathan's shirt with a pair of shears. The fabric fell apart like wet newspaper, underneath ribs pressing against skin, each one visible, countable like piano keys. And the wound on his belly angry red, the size of a man's fist, crusted with yellow and black at the edges. The smell got worse. The male paramedic turned his head, breathed through his mouth, kept working. "I need IV access," he said. "Left arm. Find me a vein." The woman tied a rubber strap above Nathan's elbow, tapped the inside of his arm, tapped again. The veins had collapsed, hidden beneath skin thin as onion paper. "Got one? Barely." The needle slid in. Nathan did not flinch. His eyes stayed open, fixed on nothing, fixed on everything. Saline started flowing through the tube, then the oxygen mask over his face. The elastic band stretched around his matted hair. "Blood pressure is 80/50, the woman called out. "Temperature 103.4. That is a bad fever. Folks, we need to move." They lifted him onto the stretcher. He weighed nothing Grace could tell by how easy they moved him, like lifting a child, like lifting bones wrapped in cloth. "Ma'am." The third paramedic, older fellow, gray at his temples, kind eyes touched Grace's elbow. "You coming with?" Grace looked at the bag in her arms, at Nathan's eyes, still tracking it even as they carried him toward the stairs. "Yes, sir," she said. "I am coming." The ambulance rocked and swayed through Portland streets. Grace sat on the narrow bench, knees pressed together, the canvas bag clutched against her stomach. The sirens wailed overhead, that sound she had heard 100 times from the outside, now deafening from within. Nathan lay strapped to the gurney. Monitors beeped and flashed numbers Grace did not understand. The female paramedic worked above him, adjusting the IV drip, checking his eyes with a small flashlight. She spoke into a radio clipped to her shoulder. "Providence, this is Medic 7. We are inbound with a male, early 30s. He has got blood poisoning sepsis, the bad kind, multiple infected wounds on his arms, legs, and abdomen, severe malnutrition, blood pressure 80/50, pulse 122, temperature 103.4. He is awake but not really with us, if you know what I mean." She paused. 8 minutes out. Static crackled. Then a voice. "Copy. Medic 7, Trauma Bay. 2 is standing by." The ambulance hit a pothole. Everything shook, the equipment, the gurney, Grace's bones. She grabbed the rail to steady herself. Nathan's hand moved, fingers reaching toward her, toward the bag. Grace leaned forward, took his hand in hers. His skin was hot and dry, like touching a sun-baked stone. "It is right here," she said, squeezing gently. "I have got it. I am not letting go." His fingers tightened around hers, weak. But there, outside, the city blurred past. Red lights, wet pavement. The world moving too fast while this man clung to life by a thread and a prayer. Providence Portland Medical Center, 9:14 in the evening. The emergency room doors flew open. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and white. The squeak of wheels on linoleum, voices overlapping, shouting words Grace could not follow. A woman in a white coat met them at the entrance. Mid-50s, short gray hair, reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. She had the look of someone who had seen everything and still showed up for work every morning. She took one look at the stretcher and pointed. "Trauma 2. Move." They wheeled Nathan through swinging doors. Grace followed until a young nurse held up her hand. "Family only past this point, ma'am." "I found him. I am the one who called it in." "I understand." The nurse's voice softened. "But you need to wait here. Someone will come get you." Grace stood in the hallway, the bag pressed against her chest. The doors swung shut. Through the small window, she watched them transfer Nathan to a hospital bed, watched the doctor, the woman in the white coat, lean over him, her mouth moving. Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Grace would learn her name later. 28 years in medicine. Known for taking the cases others had given up on. Inside, Trauma 2. Dr. Mitchell studied her patient. The wounds that should have killed him. The bones showing through his skin. The fever burning him from the inside out. And his eyes pale blue, barely focused, tracking something in the hallway. The bag. He was looking at the bag. "What is in there?" Dr. Mitchell asked the nurse beside her. "The woman who found him says it is a camera. An old one. She says he would not stop reaching for it." Dr. Mitchell watched Nathan's hand twitch toward the window, toward the volunteer still clutching that dirty canvas bag like it held something precious. She pulled out her pen, wrote in his chart. Patient shows strong attachment to personal item. Possible reason to fight. Investigate. A lab technician rushed in with the first blood test results. Handed her the printout. Dr. Mitchell scanned the numbers. Her face did not change, but her jaw tightened. His white blood cell count the cells that fight infection was through the roof. His body was at war with itself. His protein levels were dangerously low. His body had been starving for months. His liver was struggling. His kidneys were struggling. Everything was struggling. She had seen these numbers before, in patients who did not make it. This man has been dying for a long time, she thought, slowly, quietly, like he wanted to disappear. She looked at Nathan again, at the bag in the hallway, at the volunteer who would not leave. The question came before she could stop it. "What happened to you, son? And do you even want to be saved?" The conference room smelled like stale coffee and dry erase markers. Dr. Sarah Mitchell sat at the head of the table. Nathan Cole's medical chart spread open before her. 24 hours since they brought him in. The numbers had steadied, some not improving, but not falling off a cliff either. Across from her sat Dr. Raymond Brooks, the hospital's infection specialist, 38 years old, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He had reviewed the same numbers, reached a different conclusion. Nurse Patricia Owens Patty. Everyone called her stood by the window with her arms crossed. She had been on duty when they wheeled Nathan in, had cleaned his wounds herself. Holding her breath against the smell, Dr. Brooks tapped the lab report on the table. His white count is 24,000, should be under 11. His body is fighting an infection it cannot win. He looked up. The inflammation markers are sky high. The bacteria have spread to his bloodstream. That is blood poisoning sepsis, and it kills fast. He leaned forward. We need to hit this hard. Strong antibiotics through the IV. Maximum doses. We throw everything we have at the infection now, or we lose him. Dr. Mitchell did not blink. I have seen the numbers. Raymond. Then you know I am right. She shook her head slowly. His liver is already struggling. Those enzyme levels tell me it is working overtime just to keep him alive. His kidneys are filtering at maybe 40%. His body has been starving for months. No protein, no reserves, nothing left in the tank. She closed the chart. If we blast him with high-dose antibiotics, his liver shuts down. Then his kidneys. Then we are not fighting an infection anymore. We are watching his organs fail one by one. Dr. Brooks pushed back from the table. His chair scraped against the floor. Sarah, I have watched sepsis take folks in 48 hours. Young, healthy folks. This man is neither young nor healthy. He is a skeleton with infected wounds who has been living in a basement eating nothing. Which is exactly why we cannot treat him like a textbook case. The textbook exists for a reason. Dr. Mitchell stood, gathered the chart against her chest. Raymond, I have been doing this for 28 years. I have seen patients who should have died walk out of this hospital. I have seen patients who should have lived end up in the morgue. She paused. The difference, more often than not, is whether we listen to the numbers or listen to the patient. And what is this patient telling you? That something kept him alive in that basement for months, on nothing, no food, no medicine, no reason to keep going. Her voice dropped. Something in him held on. I am not ready to give up on whatever that something is. Dr. Brooks stared at her, then at the chart, then back at her. What is your plan? Gentle intervention. Lower doses of antibiotics enough to slow the infection, not enough to poison what is left of his organs. Aggressive wound care. Clean the infections at the source. Nutritional support through his veins until his stomach remembers how to work. She took a breath. We build him up first, then we escalate. That could take weeks. Yes, he might not have weeks. He might not. But I am betting he does. Silence filled the room. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Patty shifted by the window but did not speak. Dr. Brooks rubbed his eyes, took off his glasses, put them back on. If this goes wrong, then it is on me. I will document everything. My decision, my responsibility. She walked toward the door, stopped with her hand on the handle. I reckon you think I am foolish. Raymond, maybe I am. But I have been praying over harder cases than this, and I am not ready to stop now. She left. The door clicked shut behind her. Nathan's room. 10:30 at night. The monitors beeped their steady rhythm, heart rate, oxygen, blood pressure. Numbers that meant nothing to the man lying in the bed. Dr. Mitchell pulled a chair close to the bedside, sat down, did not speak right away. Nathan was awake or close to it. His eyes tracked her as she settled. Though his head did not move, the oxygen mask fogged with each shallow breath. The IV line dripped slow and steady into his arm. She studied him. The hollows beneath his cheekbones, the bandages wrapped around his arms, already showing faint yellow stains, the way his fingers kept twitching toward the bedside table, toward the bag. Grace had left it there earlier, within his reach. Nathan. She used his first name deliberately. I am going to be straight with you. I do not believe in sugarcoating things, especially not for a grown man. His eyes stayed on her. No response. Your body is very sick. You have got poison in your blood. Your liver is tired. Your kidneys are tired. The next few days are going to be rough. She paused, waited. I could give you the strongest medicine we have. Might work. Might also finish what the infection started. She leaned forward slightly. I am choosing a different way. Slower. Gentler. It gives your body a chance to get stronger before we ask it to fight harder. Still nothing. His breathing fogged the mask in and out. But here is the thing. Son. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out a photograph. I can only do so much. The rest is up to you. She held the photograph where he could see it. A woman laughing, light in her hair, joy in every line of her face. Nathan's breath caught. The monitor registered his heart beating faster. His fingers twitched against the sheet. Dr. Mitchell set the photograph on the bedside table, propped against the water pitcher where he could see it without turning his head. Grace found this with your camera. I reckon she is important to you. Nathan's eyes fixed on the photograph. Did not move. I do not know who she is. Dr. Mitchell said softly. I do not know what happened, but I know she mattered, and I know that camera mattered enough that you held on to it when you let go of everything else. She stood, looked down at him. I need you to work with me, Nathan. Not for me, not for the nurses, for whoever she was, for whatever made you keep that camera when you could have sold it for food. Nathan's eyes stayed on the photograph. His lips moved behind the mask. Barely a whisper, cracked and dry. Emily. Dr. Mitchell leaned closer. What was that? Son, her name. His voice broke. Her name was Emily. Dr. Mitchell stood in the doorway. The monitors beeped. The IV dripped. She had her answer now. She knew who he was holding on to. The question that kept her awake that night was harder. Was he holding on to remember her or waiting to follow her? Day 4. The chicken broth came back up before Nathan could swallow the second spoonful. Nurse Patty held a plastic basin under his chin. Waited. His stomach heaved again, nothing left but bile, thin and yellow, burning his throat on the way out. Easy now, she said. Easy. Nathan fell back against the pillow. His whole body trembled like a leaf in a storm. Sweat beaded on his forehead, ran down his temples, soaked into the thin hospital gown. The broth sat on the tray beside him, lukewarm now. It smelled like salt and something that might have been chicken once, a long time ago. The smell alone made his stomach clench. We will try again later, Patty said. She set the basin aside, wiped his face with a cool washcloth. Your belly forgot how to work, honey. We have got to teach it again, like a baby learning to eat. Nathan closed his eyes. His throat burned. His ribs ached from the heaving. This was day 4. 3 more attempts at food. 3 more failures. Day 5. Dr. Mitchell ordered what she called TPN, Total Parenteral Nutrition. Patty explained it in plain English, food through the veins instead of the stomach. We are going to put a special line in your chest, Patty said. Delivers everything your body needs: sugars, proteins, vitamins, straight into your blood. Bypasses your belly entirely. The insertion hurt more than Nathan expected. A needle going into the big vein below his collarbone. He stared at the ceiling tiles while they worked, counted them. Lost count. Started over. 12 across. 14 down. The fluorescent light buzzed and flickered in the corner. "You will start feeling stronger in a day or two," the technician said when he finished. "Your body needs fuel. This gives it fuel." Nathan did not answer. The bag of milky white liquid hung beside his bed now, dripping slow and steady through the tube in his chest, keeping him alive whether he wanted it or not. Day 6. The wound care was worse than the hunger. Patty came twice a day with a cart full of supplies: bottles of saline, stacks of gauze, scissors and tweezers, a small curved blade for the dead tissue that had to come off. "This is going to hurt, honey," she said the first time. "I can give you something for the pain. Just say the word." Nathan shook his head. "Son, there is no medal for suffering." "I know." His voice was still rough, still barely above a whisper. "But I need to feel it. I need to know I am still here." Patty studied him for a long moment, her eyes brown, warm, creased at the corners from years of smiling, held something like understanding. "All right then, but you tell me if it gets to be too much." She started with his left arm. The wound near his elbow was the worst one, blackened at the edges, weeping fluid that smelled like copper pennies and something rotten underneath. She cleaned around it first with saline-soaked gauze, gentle circles, washing away the crust. Then, the blade. Nathan's fingers gripped the bed rail. His knuckles went white. He did not look away. The dead tissue came off in strips, gray and black, separating from the pink flesh beneath like old wallpaper peeling from a wall. Patty worked with steady hands, hands that had done this 10,000 times before, cutting only what needed to go, leaving what could still heal. Blood welled up in the wound's center. Clean blood. Red blood. The color of something still alive. "Good," Patty said. "That is what we want to see. That is healthy tissue underneath." She packed the wound with medicated gauze, wrapped it in clean white bandages, moved to the next one. 3 wounds on his left arm, 2 on his right, 1 on his abdomen, the big one, the fist-sized crater that had scared even the paramedics. By the time she finished, Nathan was shaking. Sweat had soaked through his gown again. His jaw ached from clenching, but he had felt every moment, every cut, every sting, every proof that he was still here. Day 7. Small victory. Patty brought the broth again. Nathan held the spoon himself this time, his hand trembling, weak, but his own hand. He lifted it to his lips, swallowed, waited. His stomach clenched, threatened to rebel, then settled. He took another sip, then another. The broth tasted like nothing much warm salt water with a hint of something that might have been chicken if he used his imagination. But it stayed down. The whole cup took 20 minutes. His arm ached from the effort of lifting the spoon. But when Patty took the empty cup away, something shifted in his chest, something small, something like hope, though he would not have called it that. "Good job, honey," Patty said. No fanfare, no celebration, just quiet acknowledgement. "We will try some crackers tomorrow." Nathan leaned back against the pillow, closed his eyes. For the first time in months, he had kept something down. Day 8. The nights were hardest. The hospital quieted after 10 o'clock. Footsteps in the hallway grew sparse. The monitors beeped their steady rhythm, that sound Nathan was beginning to hate. That constant reminder that machines were measuring whether he lived or died. Somewhere down the hall. A television played the late news. Somewhere closer. Someone coughed and coughed and coughed. Nathan lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The fever came and went like an unwelcome visitor. When it spiked, the dreams came with it. Emily standing in their kitchen, flour on her cheek, holding up a loaf of bread that looked more like a brick. "I think I killed it," she said, and laughed. Laughed until she had to sit down on the kitchen floor. Laughed until tears ran down her face. Emily pointing at a sunset over the Willamette, grabbing his arm with both hands. "Shoot it! Quick! It is perfect." And him saying the light was too beautiful, too perfect, that some things you just had to watch and remember. And her rolling her eyes. Photographer's excuse for being lazy. Emily at the door. That last morning. Coffee cup in her hand. Morning sun behind her making a halo of her hair. Back in an hour. Do not forget to eat lunch. Nathan woke with her name on his lips. The room was dark except for the glow of the monitors. The chair beside his bed was empty. No one answered. Then footsteps in the hallway. The door opening. Patty's face appearing in the dim light. She did not ask what happened. Did not say anything at all. Just pulled the chair close, sat down, pressed a cool cloth to his forehead. Nathan's breath came in ragged gasps. His cheeks were wet. He had not realized he was crying. "Bad dreams?" Patty asked softly. He shook his head. "Good dreams. That is worse." Patty nodded. She understood. Lord knows, at her age, she had lost enough people to understand. She stayed until his breathing slowed, until his eyes closed again, until the fever pulled him back under. Day 9, temperature 100.8 degrees. First time below 101 since they brought him in. Dr. Mitchell noted it in his chart during morning rounds. Did not smile, did not relax, but her shoulders dropped just a little. "We are not out of the woods yet," she told Patty in the hallway, "but we are heading in the right direction." Day 11. The bed next to Nathan had been empty since he arrived. Today it was not. They wheeled the new patient in around noon, a commotion of nurses and equipment and a voice complaining loudly about hospital food before he even got through the door. An older man, late 60s, maybe 70. White hair buzzed short like he had been military once. Big hands with thick fingers, calluses on the palms, the kind of hands that had worked for a living. The nurses got him settled, hooked up his monitors, adjusted his IV, left. The room fell quiet except for the beeping machines and a small radio on the old man's bedside table. Country music played low Patsy Cline singing about falling to pieces. The man lay still for a while, staring at the ceiling. Then his head turned. He looked at Nathan, took in the bandages, the IV lines, the hollowed cheeks. "Lord have mercy," he said. "You look like something the cat dragged in and left on the porch." Nathan blinked. First words anyone besides medical staff had spoken to him in 11 days. "What?" "I said you look rough, son. Like roadkill on a hot highway." The man's voice was gravel and sandpaper, but there was warmth underneath. "I reckon I looked worse when they brought me in, though. Ask Patty. She has got pictures." Patty appeared in the doorway, checking on the new arrival. "I do not have pictures. Walter." "She is lying." Walter did not break eye contact with Nathan. A grin spread across his weathered face. "She definitely has pictures. Probably shows them at parties." Patty shook her head and moved on, but Nathan caught the faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Walter Harrison, 68 years old, retired Portland firefighter, 32 years with the department before his knees gave out. He had come in with blood poisoning too, an infection from a wound on his leg that he had ignored too long. Old habit from the firehouse. Tough it out, walk it off. Do not complain. He told Nathan none of this directly. Nathan learned it in pieces over the following days, overheard from conversations with nurses, with doctors, with the woman who visited every afternoon, Lisa, Walter's daughter, mid-40s with her father's strong jaw and her mother's kind eyes. She came every day at 3 o'clock, regular as clockwork, carrying a canvas bag full of treasures, crossword puzzles from the Sunday paper, a thermos of homemade soup chicken and dumplings one day, beef vegetable the next, Tupperware containers of cookies her boys had helped bake, photographs of twin grandsons, 8 years old, holding up fish they had caught at the river. "Danny wants to know when you are coming home, Daddy," Lisa said one afternoon. "He says the fish are not biting as good without you." "Tell that boy the fish are just scared because he is getting too good," Walter said. "They know a master fisherman when they see one." Nathan pretended to sleep when Lisa visited, kept his eyes closed, his breathing steady. But he listened to every word. Her voice was warm. She laughed at her father's terrible jokes. She called him Daddy, like she was still a little girl. And Walter called her Sweetheart, like she always would be. One afternoon, Walter caught him listening. "You can open your eyes, son. Lisa does not bite. Much." Nathan's face flushed. He had not realized he was that obvious. "I was just resting." "Sure you were." Walter turned back to his crossword. 5 letters. Stubborn. Nathan did not answer. "It is mule, in case you were wondering, though Nathan would fit if it had 6 letters. The corner of Nathan's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Not quite, but close. Day 12. Grace Delgado came back. She stood in the doorway, uncertain, like she was not sure she had the right to be there. Nathan was awake, propped up slightly against the pillows. More color in his face than before, not much, but some. "Hi," Grace said. "I hope it is okay that I stopped by." Nathan nodded. Did not speak. Grace stepped inside. She carried the bag, his bag, the one she had held in the ambulance, the one she had guarded like it contained something holy. She set it on the bedside table, next to the photograph of Emily. "I thought you might want this close," she said. "Whenever you are ready, or never. That is okay too." Nathan stared at the bag. The canvas was still dirty, the strap still frayed, but it was here, within reach. "Thank you." His voice was stronger now, still rough, but audible. Grace smiled. Small, genuine. "I'm glad you're still here, Mr. Cole. I prayed for you every night. I reckon someone was listening." She left. Nathan stared at the bag. He did not touch it. Day 13. 2 in the morning. Nathan woke from another fever dream. Emily's face fading as he reached for her, dissolving like morning fog on the river. His hand moved before he could think, fingers finding the bag in the dark, finding the zipper. He pulled it open. Just an inch. The smell drifted out. Faint. Almost gone, but unmistakable. Jasmine. Emily's shampoo. The scarf she had worn the morning she left. Nathan's throat closed. His hand trembled. He touched the leather strap of the Leica, cool and familiar. His fingers knew every crack, every worn spot, every mile they had traveled together. Then he pulled his hand back, pressed it against his chest like he had been burned. Not yet. He was not ready yet, but he had reached for it. For the first time in 2 years, he had reached. Day 14. Dr. Mitchell sat alone in her office, Nathan's chart spread open on her desk. The morning lab results stared back at her. She had read them 3 times, hoping the numbers would change. They did not. Liver enzymes climbing again. Kidney function slipping. The gentle approach was buying time. But time was running out. Her office door opened. Dr. Brooks leaned in. "Sarah, we need to talk about Cole." She already knew, had known since she saw the numbers. "I see the labs. Raymond. Then you see we are losing ground. His organs are not keeping up." Dr. Mitchell did not answer. Her eyes fell on a photograph tucked between the pages of Nathan's file. Emily laughing in golden light. Grace had found it in his bag. Had thought he might want it close. Dr. Mitchell studied that face. That joy. That love frozen in a single frame. She thought about Nathan in room 412. About the camera he would not touch. About the name he had whispered through cracked lips. Emily. "What are you waiting for, son?" She murmured to the empty room. "What do you need to let yourself live? Down the hall, in the bed by the window." Nathan Cole stared at a dirty canvas bag. His hand rested on his chest, over his heart. The same question burned in his mind, and he had no answer. To be continued. Day 15. Morning Nathan stopped talking. It happened slowly at first. Shorter answers when the nurses asked questions. Fewer words. Then nothing at all. Patty came in for morning rounds, checked his blood pressure, adjusted his IV, wrote numbers on her clipboard. "How are we feeling today, honey?" Nathan stared at the ceiling. The tiles blurred together 12 across, 14 down, the same pattern he had counted 100 times. He did not answer. "Nathan?" Patty touched his arm. Her fingers were warm against his cold skin. "Can you hear me?" His eyes moved to her face. Flat. Empty. Like someone had pulled down the shades behind them. "I need to check your bandages," she said gently. "Can you sit up for me?" He turned away, faced the wall. The paint was beige, scuffed near the floor where gurneys had bumped against it over the years. A crack ran from the corner of the window frame toward the ceiling, thin, jagged, going nowhere. Patty stood there for a long moment. The monitors beeped. Walter's radio played low in the background, Merle Haggard singing about being proud to be an Okie from Muskogee. Then she left. Her soft-soled shoes squeaked on the linoleum as she walked down the hall. Nathan heard her voice outside his door, talking to someone. The words were muffled, but the tone was clear. Worried. Something was wrong. Dr. Mitchell arrived 20 minutes later. She did not knock. Just pushed the door open, pulled a chair close to Nathan's bed, and sat down. The chair legs scraped against the floor. The sound cut through the quiet like a knife. Nathan kept his face to the wall. Dr. Mitchell did not speak. Just sat there, waiting. The silence stretched. 1 minute, 2. The only sounds were the monitors beeping and Walter's radio playing soft and low. Tammy Wynette now. Singing about standing by your man. Nathan broke first. "Just let me go." His voice was rough, cracked from disuse. The words scraped against his throat like sandpaper. Dr. Mitchell's response came quick and firm. "No." Why? He still faced the wall. Could not look at her. "I am nobody. I have got nothing left. There is nobody waiting for me out there." "That volunteer, Grace, she walked every block of this city looking for you. 3 weeks, every shelter, every soup kitchen, every camp under every bridge. She did not know your name. She just heard there was a photographer living underground who needed help. She wasted her time. She does not think so. Then she is a fool. Silence. Then, tell me about Emily. Nathan's whole body went rigid. His fingers curled into the sheets, knuckles white against the thin fabric. I saw the photograph. Dr. Mitchell continued. Her voice was softer now, but steady. In your bag. She looked happy. Real happy. The kind of happy that comes from deep down. Nathan's jaw clenched. His throat closed. She was... The words came out broken, like glass grinding together. She was always happy, even when things were hard, even when we had nothing. And I... He stopped. Could not finish. Dr. Mitchell waited. Did not push. Did not fill the silence with empty words. I could not save her. Nathan's voice cracked wide open. I was not there. She went out because I needed film. She was buying film for my camera, 3 blocks from home, and I was sitting in our apartment, looking at pictures on a screen, and she was dying on the pavement, and I was not there. That was not your fault, son. You do not know that. You do not know anything about it. I know what guilt looks like. Dr. Mitchell leaned forward. Her chair creaked. I have watched folks die from it. Not from disease, from guilt. They decide they do not deserve to get better, so they stop trying. They let the sickness win because they have already judged themselves and handed down the sentence. She paused, let the words settle in the quiet room. Is that what you are doing? Nathan, punishing yourself for something you could not have stopped? He did not answer. His breath came faster now. Shallow and ragged. You were a photographer, Dr. Mitchell continued. Grace told me about you. Said folks called you the camera guy. Said you took pictures of ordinary people and made them look like they mattered, like their lives meant something. That is gone. Nathan's voice was flat, dead. That part of me died with her. I do not believe that. You do not know me. No. But I know that camera has been sitting 3 feet from your bed for 2 weeks, and you have not thrown it away. You have not asked anyone to take it. If that part of you was really dead, you would have left it in that basement to rot. Nathan said nothing. His hands were fists now, shaking against the mattress. Emily saw something in you, Dr. Mitchell said. Something worth loving, something worth buying a camera for, something worth spending her life with. She stood. I do not think that something disappeared when she did. I think it is just buried. And I think you are the only one who can dig it out. She moved toward the door, stopped with her hand on the frame. I cannot make you want to live. Nathan, that is your choice. But I am not giving up on you until you make it. The door clicked open. Footsteps, then gone. Nathan lay still. His heart pounded against his ribs like it wanted to break free. The room was quiet. Just the monitors. Just Walter's radio, playing something slow and sad. Then Walter's voice, rough as gravel. From the bed 6 feet away. Hey, son? Nathan did not move. I know you can hear me. Turn around. Nathan did not want to turn around. Did not want to see anyone. Did not want to exist. But something in Walter's voice, something heavy, something old, something that had carried its own weight for a long time made him move. He turned, faced the other bed. Walter Harrison lay propped against his pillows. His big hands rested on his chest, fingers laced together, his eyes pale blue, faded like old denim fixed on Nathan with an intensity that cut through the fog. "I lost my wife 12 years ago," Walter said. "Helen. 40 years we had together. She was the best part of me. The only part worth a damn, if I'm being honest." Nathan said nothing, waited. After she passed, I sat in my garage for 3 hours with my service pistol. Walter's voice did not waver, steady as a heartbeat. "Loaded. Safety off. Barrel right here." He touched the underside of his chin. The room went still. Even the monitors seemed to quiet. The garage smelled like motor oil and cut grass. Helen's gardening gloves were still on the shelf where she left them. Yellow ones with little flowers. She always did love her roses. Walter's eyes stayed on Nathan's face. "You know what stopped me? I kept hearing her voice in my head. 40 years of that voice, telling me to eat my vegetables, telling me to wipe my boots before I came inside, telling me she loved me even when I did not deserve it." He paused, took a breath. "And I thought, what would she say if she saw me like this, sitting in the dark with a gun in my mouth after everything we built together?" His hands unfolded, rested at his sides. "She would have come back from heaven just to chew me out. I could hear her plain as day. 'Walter Harrison, you put that gun down right now. I did not spend 40 years loving you so you could waste it.'" Silence. The weight of it pressing down. "What did you do?" Nathan asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Put the gun in a lockbox. Drove to Lisa's house. Gave her the key. Told her not to give it back unless I asked twice." Walter's eyes moved to the canvas bag on Nathan's bedside table, the camera strap visible through the half-open zipper. 12 years now. I never asked. Not once." He looked back at Nathan. "Your wife gave you that camera. Son, what do you reckon she would say if she saw you now?" Nathan could not answer. His chest was too tight, his eyes too full. But his hand moved, slowly, trembling, reaching toward the bag. His fingers touched the leather strap. And somewhere inside him, beneath the ice, beneath the guilt, beneath the 2 years of silence, something cracked. To be continued. Day 15 night, 2 in the morning. The hospital had gone quiet. Not silent hospitals never truly slept but hushed. The hallway lights dimmed to a soft glow. Somewhere far away, a cart rattled across linoleum. A door opened and closed. Footsteps faded into nothing. Walter was asleep. His breathing came slow and steady, rising and falling like waves on a calm shore. Every few minutes, a soft snore escaped the kind of sound Helen probably complained about for 40 years. The kind of sound Lisa probably missed when she went home to her own quiet house. Nathan lay awake. His hand rested on the canvas bag. Had been resting there for hours, ever since Walter's words had landed in his chest like stones dropped into still water. "What do you reckon she would say if she saw you now?" The photograph of Emily watched him from the bedside table, her face caught in mid-laugh. Frozen in a moment 2 years and a lifetime ago. The lamp cast a dim circle of light across her features, the crinkle at the corner of her eyes. The way her nose scrunched when she laughed hard. The single strand of hair that always escaped her ponytail. He could not look at it. Could not look away. His fingers found the zipper. Pulled. The sound was small metal teeth separating in the dark, but it felt like something tearing open inside him. The scarf lay on top. Pale blue cotton, soft from 100 washes, Emily had worn it almost every day in autumn, wrapped loose around her neck, the ends trailing over her shoulder. She never tied it properly. Said knots were for sailors and people with no imagination. Nathan lifted the scarf to his face. Jasmine, faint now, barely there. 2 years of sitting in a bag, in a basement, in the dark had stolen most of it away, but it was there, still there, like a whisper from another room. His throat closed, his eyes burned. He pressed the fabric against his nose, his mouth, breathing in what little remained. His chest shuddered. His shoulders curled forward. Beneath the scarf, the Leica. He pulled it out with both hands, the weight of it solid, familiar. Necessary settled into his palms like coming home. The leather strap was worn smooth from years of hanging around his neck. The brass body was cool against his skin. He turned it over, found the inscription on the bottom plate, engraved in Emily's careful handwriting. To Nathan, who shows me light I never knew existed. Forever. Emily. His wedding gift. She had saved for a whole year to buy it. Had wrapped it in newspaper because she could not afford proper gift paper. Had watched his face with nervous eyes as he opened it. I know it is not new, she had said, biting her lip. The man at the shop said it was vintage. Said you would know if it was any good. He had known. A 1965 Leica M3, the camera that had made legends of ordinary photographers. He had stared at it, unable to speak, unable to believe she had done this for him. Do you like it? I can take it back if... He had kissed her then, had not stopped for a very long time. Nathan's fingers traced the inscription now, each letter worn from years of touch. Forever. Emily. Forever had lasted 6 years, 2 months, and 14 days. And the sound that came from his chest was not crying. Not at first. It started deeper, lower. A moan that began somewhere beneath his ribs and clawed its way up through his stomach, his lungs, his clenched throat. His shoulders shook, his face twisted. The camera pressed against his chest, both hands holding it there like a man holding the last piece of something he loved. Then the tears came. Hot, sudden, unstoppable. 2 years. 2 years of holding still. 2 years of not moving, not feeling, not breathing. 2 years of telling himself that if he stayed frozen, the pain would stay frozen too. It had not worked. The pain was here now. All of it. Every moment he had refused to feel, every memory he had locked in a box, every night he had spent staring at walls because closing his eyes meant seeing her face. He saw her now, standing in their kitchen, flour on her cheek, holding up that brick she called bread. I think I killed it, she had said, and laughed. Laughed until she had to sit down on the floor. Laughed until tears streamed down her face, and he grabbed his camera and took a picture because he never wanted to forget how joy looked on her, pointing at the sunset over the Willamette, both hands on his arm, tugging like a child. Shoot it. Quick. And him saying some moments were too perfect to capture, and her rolling her eyes. That is the sorriest excuse I ever heard. At the door. That last morning, coffee cup in her hand, morning sun streaming through the window behind her, turning her hair to gold. Back in an hour. Do not forget to eat lunch. She had kissed his forehead, her lips warm, her hair smelling of jasmine. She had walked out the door. She had never walked back in. Nathan wept. Not quietly. Not gracefully, His body heaved like something inside was trying to break free. His breath came in gasps between sobs. Tears and snot ran down his face, dripping onto the camera, onto the scarf, onto the hospital sheets. He did not try to stop it. Could not have stopped it if he tried. This was the flood behind the dam. 2 years of grief pressing against the wall he had built. And now, the wall was gone. Outside his door, soft footsteps paused. Patty stood in the hallway. She had heard him from the nurse's station, that raw, ragged sound of a man finally letting go. She had walked here to check on him, to make sure he was all right. Through the small window in the door, she could see his silhouette in the dim light, hunched over, shaking. She did not go in. Some things a person had to do alone. Some grief was too sacred for witnesses. But she did not leave either. She stood outside his door like a sentry, made sure no one else went in, no well-meaning nurse with sedatives, no doctor with questions. She bowed her head, closed her eyes. Lord, let him get it all out. Let him empty himself of this poison so something new can grow. She stayed until the sounds inside began to quiet. Nathan did not know how long he cried. Minutes, hours, time stopped meaning anything. When it finally ended, when his body had nothing left to give, he lay curled on his side. The camera still pressed against his chest. The scarf wrapped around his hand. The faded jasmine against his cheek. His eyes were swollen near shut. His throat raw as sandpaper. His whole body ached like he had been in a fight, but something was different. The weight was still there. Emily was still gone. Nothing had changed. And yet, for the first time in 2 years, his chest did not feel filled with concrete. The pressure had shifted, moved, made room for something else. He did not know what that something else was, not yet, but lying there in the dark, clutching her camera, wrapped in the last traces of her scent. Nathan Cole realized something. He was still breathing, and somewhere deep down, in a place he thought had died, part of him wanted to keep breathing. The question waiting in the dark, what now? To be continued. Day 16. Morning. Nathan woke to gray light filtering through the window. His eyes were swollen near shut. His face felt tight, crusted with salt. His throat burned like he had swallowed broken glass. But he was awake. Present. Here. The Leica rested on his chest, still clutched in both hands. Emily's scarf was wrapped around his fingers. The jasmine scent nearly gone now, but not quite. Not yet. Patty came in for morning rounds. She stopped when she saw him looking at her. Actually looking not through her, not past her, but at her. "Good morning, honey." She kept her voice soft, waited. "Water." His voice came out like gravel scraping tin. "Please." She poured a cup from the pitcher, held it out. He took it himself. His hand trembled, but he lifted it to his cracked lips and drank. The water was cool, clean. It hurt going down, but he swallowed anyway. "More?" He nodded. When he finished the second cup, he set it on the tray, looked at Patty with something that had not been in his eyes before. "Do you have a mirror?" She found one in the supply closet, small, handheld, gave it to him without comment. Nathan lifted it, studied his reflection. A stranger stared back, hollow cheeks sharp as blades, eyes sunk deep in their sockets, ringed with purple. A beard grown wild and tangled, flecked with gray that had not been there 2 years ago. Skin like old paper stretched too thin. "Lord have mercy," he whispered. "You look alive." Patty said, "Human comes later." Nathan set the mirror face down on the tray. Alive. That was something. More than he had been yesterday. Day 21. Walter was working on a crossword puzzle when Nathan finally spoke more than 3 words. What is a 5-letter word for stubborn? Walter looked up from his newspaper, pencil poised. His weathered face crinkled into a grin. Is it Walter? Walter snorted. That is 6 letters, son. And the answer is mule. Though I reckon you would fit if we squeezed. Nathan's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Not quite, but close. The afternoon settled into a rhythm after that. Walter talked. Nathan listened. Stories from the firehouse. The call in '87 when Walter carried a 6-year-old girl out of a burning house on Division Street. The way her small arms had wrapped around his neck. The dog she kept crying about a German shepherd named Buster that they could not save. She wrote me a letter 10 years later, Walter said, staring at the ceiling. Thanked me for saving her life. Said she became a veterinarian. Has 3 dogs now. Nathan did not offer comfort. Did not say it was not his fault. Just listened. Some things did not need words. Some things just needed a witness. Day 25. Lisa brought something different that afternoon. Found this in Mama's things, she said, pulling a framed photograph from her canvas bag. Thought you might like to see it, Daddy. Walter took the frame with both hands. His big fingers trembled slightly. Firefighters in dress uniforms. Station 14. The whole crew standing proud in front of a gleaming red engine. 1995 printed in white at the bottom corner. Best crew I ever worked with, Walter said, his voice rough. He held it where Nathan could see. Nathan looked at the photograph. His eyes moved across the faces, the poses, the composition. Something shifted in his expression. The lighting is wrong. Walter raised an eyebrow. Come again. They shot this at noon. See the shadows straight down, cutting across everyone's faces. Nathan's finger traced the air above the glass. Should have done early morning. Softer light. Would have caught the brass on the helmets better. Made the whole thing glow instead of wash out. Lisa and Walter exchanged a glance. Walter's weathered face broke into a slow grin. There he is. Day 28. Morning golden light. Nathan woke to it streaming through the hospital window. Early morning sun, low on the horizon, cutting through the November clouds for the first time in weeks. The room glowed. Everything touched by warmth, the white sheets, the metal bed frames, the water pitcher on the table, and Walter. He sat in a wheelchair by the window. A nurse had helped him there earlier, while Nathan slept. He faced the glass, looking out at the Willamette River below. Morning mist rose off the water, curling and dissolving like smoke. The light caught the silver of his hair, the deep lines of his weathered face, the stillness of a man who had carried his share and made peace with the weight. Nathan's hand moved before he could think. The Leica, on the bedside table. His fingers found the strap. He lifted it. The weight settled into his palms like coming home. His hands trembled. Not from weakness now, from something else. Something he could not name. He brought the viewfinder to his eye. The frame held Walter. Held the light. Held the river and the mist and the morning. Walter did not move. Did not pose. Did not know he was being watched. He just existed. In that perfect light. In that quiet moment. Nathan's finger found the shutter release. Click. The sound was small, a whisper of mechanics. But Nathan felt it in his chest, in his throat, behind his eyes. 2 years, 2 years since he had made that sound. Walter spoke without turning. "Got something good." Nathan lowered the camera. His hands were shaking. His vision blurred with tears he did not expect. "Yeah," he said, his voice cracking. "I think so." Outside, the mist began to lift. The river caught the sun and scattered it into gold. Emily's scarf hung around Nathan's neck. Her camera rested in his hands. He had found light again. Now the question remained, could he carry it back into the world? To be continued. Day 35. Nathan stood at the hospital entrance. 35 days since Grace had found him in the basement. 35 days of IV lines and wound care and fever dreams. 35 days of learning to eat again, to speak again, to want again. He was still thin. The clothes the social worker had found for him, a flannel shirt, blue jeans, a worn canvas jacket hung loose on his frame. His cheeks were still hollow, his wrists still bony. The bandages beneath his sleeves would need changing for weeks yet. But he was standing, on his own 2 feet, breathing the cold November air. The automatic doors slid shut behind him. The chill hit his face sharp, clean, carrying the smell of rain and river and wet pavement. He filled his lungs with it, let it settle in his chest. Grace waited by her car in the pickup lane. A silver Honda, 10 years old, a dent in the passenger door. She raised her hand when she saw him. Nathan did not move yet. Not quite. Footsteps behind him. Soft-soled shoes on concrete. Dr. Mitchell. She carried a manila folder. Discharge papers. Follow-up appointments. Prescriptions. A list of phone numbers for the transitional housing program. The outpatient clinic. The counselor who specialized in grief. She handed it to him without ceremony. "Everything you need is in there. Primary care doctor on Burnside. Wound specialist twice a week until those arms heal proper. Nutritionist to make sure you keep eating." She paused. "Do not skip the appointments. Nathan." He took the folder, tucked it under his arm. "I will not." Dr. Mitchell studied his face, the color that had returned, the eyes that tracked and focused, the man standing where a skeleton had lain 5 weeks ago. Then she did something she rarely did. She stepped forward, wrapped her arms around him, held on. Nathan froze, his body stiff, uncertain. Then his free arm lifted, returned the embrace, brief, awkward, real. Dr. Mitchell stepped back, cleared her throat, adjusted her glasses. "Do not make me come hunt you down, son. I will not." She nodded once, turned, walked back through the automatic doors. Nathan watched her go, that small woman who had fought for his life when he would not fight for it himself. He walked toward Grace's car, stopped, turned back. Dr. Mitchell was still visible through the glass, watching. Nathan raised his hand. "Thank you for not giving up." She shook her head, smiled. Her voice carried through the door, muffled but clear. "Thank yourself. I just bought you time." Grace drove through downtown Portland. The streets were quiet for a weekday morning. Light rain had fallen earlier, leaving the pavement dark and slick. Storefronts reflected in puddles. A few umbrellas moved along the sidewalks. The windshield wipers beat a slow rhythm back and forth. Back and forth. Nathan sat in the passenger seat, the camera bag in his lap, his hands resting on top of it. "I called the transitional housing folks this morning," Grace said. "They have a room ready for you. Nothing fancy, just a bed and a bathroom and a little kitchen. But it is clean, and it is yours for as long as you need it." Nathan nodded. did not speak. There is a community dinner on Thursday nights. Folks from the neighborhood come. Volunteers cook. You do not have to go, but... She glanced at him. Might be good. When you are ready. Thank you, Grace. She smiled. Small, genuine. They drove in silence for a while, past the old brick buildings of the Pearl District, past the food carts and coffee shops, past the bridge where Nathan used to stand at sunrise, chasing the light. Can we stop somewhere first? Nathan asked. Where? The waterfront. Grace did not ask why. Just changed lanes, headed toward the river. They parked near the Hawthorne Bridge. Nathan climbed out. His legs were weak. The muscles had not fully come back, but they held. He walked toward the railing overlooking the Willamette, the camera bag over his shoulder. Grace followed, kept pace, did not hover. The river stretched before them, wide and slow. Gray-green water under a heavy gray sky, November clouds pressing low, threatening more rain. The air smelled like wet stone and moss and something clean underneath the scent of water moving, carrying everything downstream. Nathan stopped at the railing, wrapped his fingers around the cold metal, looked out. This was where he used to come. Before. In the early mornings when the light was soft and gold, Emily had stood here with him sometimes, complaining about the cold, stealing sips of his coffee, pointing at tugboats and asking him to explain why he found them beautiful. He could almost see her now, almost hear her voice, but the almost did not cut as deep as it used to. A break in the clouds. A single shaft of light punched through pale gold. Winter light, falling across the water like a blessing. Nathan's hand moved to the camera bag, found the zipper, pulled. The Leica. Emily's Leica. He lifted it out. His hands were steadier now. Not strong, but steady. He raised the viewfinder to his eye, scanned the water, the light on the ripples, the bridge in the distance. Then he stopped. Grace stood a few feet away, leaning against the railing, her face turned toward the break in the clouds, eyes closed, not knowing he was watching. The light fell across her cheek, caught the gray in her hair, softened the lines around her eyes. The woman who had walked every block of this city looking for someone she had never met, who had held his camera bag in a dark ambulance and promised not to let go, who had prayed for him every night, she said. And maybe someone had been listening. Nathan framed the shot. Click. Grace opened her eyes, turned. Did you just take my picture? Nathan lowered the camera. Yes, ma'am. Why? He thought about it. The question was simple. The answer was not. Because you looked for me, he said finally, when nobody else did, when I was not even looking for myself. Grace did not respond, did not need to. They stood together at the railing, watching the river, watching the light fade as the clouds closed again. A few drops of rain began to fall, then more, then steady. Nathan did not move toward the car, did not seek shelter. He lifted his face to the sky, let the rain fall on his cheeks, his closed eyes, his upturned palms. Emily's scarf was wrapped around his neck. Her camera hung against his chest. He still carried her, always would. That was not a weight he wanted to put down. But standing there in the rain, beside the river, next to a woman who had refused to let him disappear, he understood something he had not understood before. Carrying someone did not mean you had to stand still. Carrying someone did not mean you could not walk forward. The rain fell harder. Cold. November. The kind of rain that soaked through to your bones, Grace touched his arm. Ready to go see your new place? Nathan looked at her, at the river, at the city spread out before him, the bridges, the buildings, the ordinary people going about their ordinary lives. There was light here, everywhere, if you knew how to look. Yes, ma'am, he said. I reckon I am. They walked back to the car together. The rain drummed on the roof as Grace started the engine. Nathan held the Leica in his lap, turned it over. Read the inscription one more time. To Nathan, who shows me light I never knew existed, forever. Emily. He closed his eyes, whispered, so soft only he could hear, I will try. I will try. The car pulled away from the curb. The river disappeared in the rearview mirror, and Nathan Cole, photographer, widower, survivor, began again. The end, for everyone who has ever fallen so far they forgot how to stand, and for the folks who reached down anyway. You are not alone. Dear friend, I did not tell you this story to preach at you. Lord knows, you have lived long enough to understand that grief does not follow any schedule, that some mornings, just getting out of bed takes everything you have got. I told you this story because I believe we need reminding sometimes that falling down does not mean staying down, that asking for help is not weakness, that the folks who save us are often strangers we have never met. Nathan's story is not about finding happiness. It is about finding the courage to try again, to pick up the camera, to face the morning light. If you are carrying someone you have lost, I hope you know this. Carrying them does not mean you cannot move forward. It means they walk with you. Thank you for sitting with me a while, with gratitude and respect. Disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction inspired by themes of recovery, grief, and human resilience, created solely for entertainment purposes. The author does not condone, encourage, or promote any form of violence, self-harm, or harmful behavior. All characters, names, locations, medical scenarios, and events depicted herein are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or deceased, or to actual events is purely coincidental. Reader discretion is advised. The end.